some of the names of their lattes were kind of funny. And they had the one called the Queen of England.
Okay.
And so I had to ask what was in that.
Yeah.
And it was like they used toffee and caramel like as like the flavoring.
What does that have to do with the Queen of England?
I don't know. I mean, toffee. I think toffee is like kind of a British thing.
Yes. Is there a thanks a latte?
No, but they had your mom's latte.
Nice.
But
that's one I would get just so I could order it. Yeah. Just so I could say that.
And it was what was in it? I forget because
even just inquire about it. Hi, what's in your mom's latte?
Yep. I know. So I was yeah. Then just I guess that ruins the story because I don't remember what was in it. But,
crap. Write in, let us know what's in your mom's latte. That can be taken very wrongly. I feel like just asking someone.
That's what it's a latte with a little bit of whiskey in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Your mom's latte.
Yep.
Or vodka, something.
Yeah, some kind of
little coffee liqueur.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to Screen Time. I'm your host, Josh, and today it's just the bros, my co-host, Jared.
It's called life. You should try it sometime.
I was wondering what you're going to say.
There wasn't much in this one.
I was going to write it down. There was a line that they did say somewhere that I was like, oh, that would have been a good one. And I was
hey, you could start with one too.
Well, yeah.
Even though you're the host, you could still do one.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I will. There was a line. What was the line? Oh, crap. Never mind.
I couldn't find anything else in this one.
There was something that stood out to me. And I was like, I wonder if Jared will use that one. I was like, that's a good
well, apparently not.
You didn't. Anyway, today we are talking about Spectre, 2 James Bond movies in a row. So this was obviously directed by Sam Mendes, the guy we've been covering.
Getting close to the end.
Yeah. This film came out in 2015. Again, PG-13. And again, basically 2.5 hours is 2 hours and 28 minutes, but it's very close to the last one.
Is that the same runtime?
The last one was a little bit short. I forget. It might have been like 2:25.
Okay.
2 hours and 25 minutes. But
I was wondering how long this movie was.
But this is like they're very similar, within a few minutes of each other, lengthwise. So here's our synopsis. A cryptic message from James Bond's past sends him on a trail to uncover the existence of a sinister organization named Spectre. With a new threat dawning, Bond learns the terrible truth about the author of all his pain in his most recent missions. All right.
What's the budget?
Our budget's $245. So another $45 million.
Yeah,
more.
It was 200, right, for Skyfall?
Yep. And I also went back because we talked about this. So, Road to Perdition was the most. It was like 90 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jarhead was like 75, so it was close. Okay. Everything else was way less.
Yeah.
So those two were the closest to anything close to what these movies were. But they were still both under 100. And then you got 200 and then basically almost 250 for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there really probably ever is a low budget for a Bond movie. You know, even back in the day, they probably were still pretty big.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the reasons because all the action is obviously, but then they shoot in locations all over the world all the time, and that just adds
a
cost.
Lot. Yeah.
All right, so same writers as last time, but I think I mentioned last time basically these set of guys kind of wrote all the Daniel Craig stuff. So we got a new cinematographer.
This guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you? I wanted to ask you. Have you heard this guy before? This guy's a big deal now.
I know, but because then he had done, so before this he had done Interstellar with Christopher Nolan, but then after that, then he also did Dunkirk, Tenet, Nope, and Oppenheimer.
Yep. So, I wrote those all down because I wanted to, yeah.
So he definitely,
crazy.
Kind of hit that stride. I also looked up why, I was like curious why Roger Deakins didn't, because Roger Deakins did so many movies with Sam Mendes, including Skyfall. And he just said he thought he didn't have any new stuff to take or new ideas to give to James Bond, and then also thought it was a good opportunity to let someone else try something. So that's kind of why he turned down, because he actually, Sam Mendes asked him originally to do it first.
I figured, yeah,
because then he had Thomas Newman do the music again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hoyte van Hoytema.
Yes, Hoyte van Hoytema. That's why we never said his name.
Yeah,
Hoyte van Hoytema.
Yeah, I think he's.
But yeah, his
Swedish or Danish. I don't know. I looked him up.
But yes, I mean the stuff is still very beautiful stuff. In this.
Well, think about all those movies. I know you haven't seen Nope, which we have Jordan Peele on the list for directors.
Yeah.
To go through, because that movie is great. But all the rest of them, I guess you haven't seen Oppenheimer.
I haven't watched Oppenheimer yet, but
I watched like half of it because it's 3 hours.
But I've seen those other movies and some of them several times, and yes, they're all very, very pretty.
Well, and especially with Nolan, because I just saw behind the scenes for Oppenheimer, the thing he has to lug around because they're doing the cartridges. They're what was it they were talking about? It's all film.
Yeah, he's still shooting in film. Are they doing the IMAX stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, those cameras are huge.
They special made for the black and white scenes in Oppenheimer, like a special that apparently they don't do anymore. Well, I guess they probably don't do. I guess they probably regular film. They still produce a decent amount, right?
There's still a lot of films a lot of movies shot on film. Yeah,
it's kind of like I always think of it as like Polaroids, because Claudia has a lot of Polaroid cameras, and buying Polaroid film is pretty expensive now, but
it's not as mass produced as it used to be at one time. Yeah.
But anyway, it's just crazy. I saw behind the scenes, and the thing he's carrying around constantly is massive. It's insane.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of that stuff.
We can get there later. I was just wondering if you heard of this guy, because I wanted to ask you about.
I was not aware of his name. No, I mean obviously I've seen it. I'm familiar with
films,
I'm familiar with his work.
No,
some
but
of his other films, but I hadn't looked him up before, and so it was not.
He just now seems like he's going to be high on the list of cinematographers now going forward. Oh, he probably already was a little bit, but especially after Oppenheimer.
Well, I think because he might win an Oscar for it.
Yeah,
because it's nominated for.
I didn't look that up. Did he win anything yet?
I didn't look at him specifically. Okay. He might have already.
Yeah, you might have.
Because I mean, some of the other movies already on that list are.
Man, and even Tenet was
insane.
What he had to do for that too is just crazy.
Yeah, so we covered it. So yeah, $245 million for, and then there was this one Oscar.
Okay.
For again best original song, just like Skyfall did.
Okay.
But this is obviously a different song. It's Sam Smith for Writings on the Wall, and last time it won for music. Like the other one also won for sound editing, and then the best original song. So yeah. Obviously a lot of crossover here on the cast.
Yep.
Daniel Craig again. We have Christoph Waltz as Blofeld, and then Leah Sudol as Madeline, and then of course Ralph Fiennes again as M. We have Monica Bellucci as Lucia, and then Ben Whishaw as Q, Naomi Harris as Moneypenny. We have Dave Bautista as Hanks, and then Andrew Scott as C. And then Roy Kinner as Tanner again. Mm-hmm. So half of those are
half of those. Yeah, we got a couple of new ones.
Yeah, and then a handful of new ones. All right, so
the cast real quick. I didn't have anyone else, but I just wanted to shout out both. Andrew Scott first, because now he's since then has gotten way bigger because of Fleabag. That was. Even though he was great in the Sherlock show, I think is what else he was in.
Was he?
And that was probably around that time, right? 2015.
Yeah, or before that.
Yeah, maybe before that even. He was really good in that too. He's been on, I believe he was in at least one episode of Black Mirror. But now, even Claudia's like, oh yeah, he's the hot priest. That's what everyone calls him now. Yeah, because that's what he was in Fleabag. Yeah. But no, he's a great actor though. And he was really good in Fleabag.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to do in this. I mean, he does.
No, he didn't. Yeah, a little bit at the end, but
Yeah,
yeah. I would say this is not his best performance.
I mean, they didn't give it. I mean, not
They
much
didn't
to work
give.
with.
Yeah, he didn't have that much. But I wanted to shout out Leah Sadu because she's great in this, but she now does a lot with video games because she's in now 2 of Hideo Kojima's games, which I'm sure he's someone you actually are familiar with in the video game world because he did all of Metal Gear.
Okay.
Yeah, and now he's doing Death Stranding. So Leah Sadu was in Death Stranding, which is one of Kojima's newest games, and then she's in Death Stranding 2, which is about to come out.
I don't know that I've seen her in any other movies, or
no.
I don't think I've seen her in anything else.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. Probably a lot of French films.
Yeah. And then Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, he's a big deal.
Blofeld is. I mean, I think it's great casting for that. Because I mean, that was a role. There was a Blofeld, obviously, in the older movies.
Yes.
And yeah. And Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Great as a henchman.
Always great as a henchman. Yeah.
All right. So overall thoughts. What are your overall thoughts on this film?
All right. So this one also hadn't seen in a minute, and also hadn't seen as much. This is probably only my second or third time maybe seeing it.
I was trying to remember if I even seen it more than once.
Yeah.
And if I had, it's been so long. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think. This might have only been the second time. I would say second or third time. And I would say overall, still good, but the pacing isn't as good, and the story isn't as intriguing, I think. And as a result of that, it's too long. I think it's too long. That's why I was wondering the runtime. Like it felt
longer to you.
Yes, it felt way longer to me. I think just because of those reasons. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, so my thought was, I liked it a lot more than I remember. Is the best way to approach that. Like, because I remember being more disappointed. Of course, watching them back to back, like seeing Skyfall in the theater, and then probably watching it a few times after, and then going
sky high expectations too.
Yeah, I know. And then going to see this in the theater and like kind of probably like leaving like, it wasn't as good. And then I think that stuck with me. And again, like I said, I can't remember if I watched it again since then. So like I probably was like,
I don't know if I did either.
And so then watching it now, I think it's a lot better than I remember.
Yeah,
like, from that context. I also think I feel like this has a lot more of the classic story beats that a Bond film has than Skyfall.
Yeah, I guess
some of those things I was talking about that I thought was missing in Skyfall when we were talking about last week, and Cece was like arguing, kept like, but it makes it, and why I like Casino Royale better.
Yeah,
this has those things, so it has like the DNA of those things.
Some of those things I would say, not everything, because again, like what I was mentioning, Skyfall, nothing to do with like a lot of the tropes. Obviously, he still orders a drink, those kind of things, but no card game, no like scene like that again.
No, I know.
I was surprised.
There's no card game, right?
And even the car stuff, not as much either until the end. There's an awesome car chase, but I'm talking about a specific Bond car,
Right, but he does get a car with some things.
True. Yeah.
And then he also there's like some. So I think there was a little more gadgety stuff in there. Not as much as the old ones.
No.
He does get a new car. I mean, he kind of has to steal it, but right.
Yeah.
But I think the mountaintop ski, like, I mean, even though it wasn't on skis, but the snow mountaintop like facility, like
that's
classic.
For sure. Yeah.
Of course, then he goes from desert. He goes there's the different just the kind of different locations. The more interaction with women, it feels like those classic like beats that kind of were lacking in Skyfall, I think.
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
There was just some of those kind of things. Now, I still don't think this is as good a movie as Skyfall or Casino Royale.
For sure.
Because I think, right, the overall story arc, while is a honestly great idea and plot.
Yes.
I think on execution, it didn't come together as well.
I agree.
And I think the third act is where it suffers the most.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, because the beginning and first and second act are way stronger. Yeah, you're
setup.
right.
The first act, the setup of everything, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then even the middle, you're like, okay. And then it just,
Man, you're right. Yeah, towards the end, it's, yeah.
So let's get into spoilers, and we can talk a little more specifics about this stuff. So first of all, we got to talk about, which bleeds into cinematography, but the 4-minute opener. That's a one shot. That's not a one shot, but it's a one shot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Is so sick.
Yes. This is, honestly, this whole scene is, I think, like one of the best scenes in the movie. And this is the part that was the most memorable to me, even coming back to it to watch it this time. I remember this
100%. As soon as the movie started, I was like, oh yeah, oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
As if this is a long one take that I also remember leaning over to Robin when we were watching in the theater and being like, a minute or so in, I was like, they haven't cut yet. They haven't cut yet. And then like I'm watching, I'm like, they haven't cut yet.
So it's not a real one take though.
Correct. I looked it up.
Okay, because were you looking to see like, all right, you could cut there, you could cut there?
No, there's no. So what the
there's no obvious.
There's no
spots.
obvious.
Okay.
So what they did was they planned it.
Yeah.
And it's actually 3 different shots.
That's still impressive.
Yeah. So it's all one take on a crane, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Opening to go, and as soon as he goes into the hotel with the lady, that's where one of the cuts is.
Okay.
Because then all the interior stuff of the hotel is actually on a soundstage. Wow. So it's not even like they did a cut in the same location.
So you wouldn't even be able to do that.
Another whole location.
There's no way to do that as a real one.
And then of course, as he steps out, is the other cut.
The window?
Yeah, when he steps out the window is the other cut. And they just planned them, and they do like clever wipes, almost like wipe transitions with like some CG to clean things up. And then it's like, it looks like a one take. Yeah.
It's, man, yeah, this is the most memorable scene in the whole movie, I think.
Yeah.
And,
which is awesome, but at the same time, like, not what you want.
No, not what you want.
It's like downhill from the beginning.
But still, to Sam Mendes' credit, both Bond movies he's directed, very strong openings, which you do need that in a Bond movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The whole opening and then go into the title sequence, all that like needs to be very strong. And I feel like most Bond movies, it is that way, and then it kind of dips in the middle. This one's not that way though. I feel like we talked about, it's more towards the end where it kind of dips. But I feel like a lot of the old movies, it really dips in the middle. At least from what my recollection. I haven't watched through all of them in a long time, but this is the part that I wish Claudia was on so she could talk about this. Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can say it right. I was trying to see if Claudia was helping me with this. Dia de los Muertos is the festival, and she told me about it because I didn't know a lot about it. Mexican holiday, but it's technically, when I looked it up, it's all Spanish cultures do celebrate in some way a little bit differently. Well, actually, I guess you would. They do this a lot in Coco.
Yeah.
Right. That's the movie that. Yeah.
Yeah. Coco is like all built around
a lot
that.
of that. Yeah. And it's just where they celebrate all their deceased ancestors, and it's basically last 3 days, starts on Halloween, and 3-day thing. But I love that they do this in this movie, and it's just it's a very strong opening, and I mean the whole festival itself is just really great. I wonder if they actually did they actually shoot it, and because there's no way they didn't just stage all this. Like, do you think they actually just filmed it when it was happening anyway?
I don't know.
I wonder.
I do know.
There's a lot of people
I do know
too.
They
had to do a lot of planning.
I do know that the cinematographer was talking about how everything they shot in Mexico, they tried to shoot when it was overcast because they wanted the lighting to feel a certain way versus later when there's in some other areas that have similar color palettes so it'd feel different, more sunny there. So they wanted that stuff to feel a little bit more like dark and gloomy, even though it's hot and like warm temperature. So they kind of go for like a little warmer orangish palette to kind of feel that, but they also wanted to seem different. So
also the other thing I just want to mention is I just love the costuming in this opening. Like even what Bond and the woman is wearing is just awesome. Yeah. Also, Claudia's like, we need to do that as a Halloween costume. I was like, that's a good idea. That'd be
couples
sick.
costume.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
So then we go into the opening title sequence in the song. So what do you think of that? What did you think of that?
So the title sequence, I think which I'll talk more about when we do score, but I think the music of the song is so good. And I think the title sequence, everything that's happening visually, I think is better than Skyfall. I don't like Sam Smith's vocals really on the song. That's my only downside to it. But I honestly, even with like what they do with the octopus, a lot of the visuals I think are better than the Skyfall opening. I think it is more memorable. We were talking about that with Skyfall. I don't think the visuals as much in Skyfall. But that song though in Skyfall I think is better.
I like the Skyfall song better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you? With the
I think it was, to me it was like a mix. There's stuff in there I thought was cool, and then there's other stuff I was kind of like, okay, like, but especially the transition bothered me because it looked a little cheesy when it goes from the ring that and then it was a little felt a little low budget, I guess the best way to put it. And that, so like that was like started off but then like watching it, and then so it's like started off kind of, I guess, on the downer for me because that transition seemed a little below budget, and then the song I'm like, I don't like the song as much, but then later like some of the sequence and the cool stuff, and I liked how they integrated stuff from like previous, because then of course that correlates later to I think a lot of the openers do this where they kind of spoil stuff.
Yeah.
if you know, but it's not a spoiler because it's like not obvious until you've seen it.
They do a lot of foreshadowing though.
Yes, yeah. And so, so I thought that was cool. But yeah. So then, I do like that, felt like a continuation, it's like, they kind of picked up like maybe 6 months.
I was wondering, how long
like
time has passed?
They didn't say, but the only thing is weird is because it feels like it's not too long in general, except for then the whole situation with, like then that other building is almost finished being built, the new building.
Oh, right.
And so like, I feel like, what the heck? Why is this like new thing happening that like would have taken forever to build that building? But then the old MI6 building is like in rubble and like nothing done to it. But then it also seems like the old Judi Dench's M like just passed. Like, so it's like there's a little like ambiguous
continuity error.
Well, just like ambiguous on like, is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 years? You don't really know.
No. Yeah, I was wondering.
Most of the thing points to like a few months later. Like most stuff, I feel like kind of because the way like. Forensics is done with all this stuff. You can have this box or whatever that Moneypenny brings to him. Yeah, he's like, bring it by my place instead of she's only gonna hand it to him. He's like, bring it by my place tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that and that wouldn't seem like that would take 6 months or 2 years. That probably would have just been like a month or so. And so like, and then of course, it seems like he had, as soon as she died, that the video with her saying, hey, this means I'm dead, go here to kill this guy and then go to his funeral, whatever.
Yeah.
So things up. So I feel like that would have been, sort of like pretty quickly after, not too long after. Right. So, so most things point to that, but then it's like this whole building is built now that like we didn't know anything about in the previous movie.
Yeah.
That obviously if it was a really thing happening, they would have been talking about that, but but it's a movie, whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a little weird. I was like, when is this supposed to be?
But I do like it feels like it's, right after, and not like like not too long after, and just there's some continuity there of like story.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of, I think we talked about a little bit earlier, but like has some of the classic things. The other thing that also felt like more classic Bond was like the little like goofy moments, like even in that opening where like then the building starts crashing and then he lands in the like little couch.
The couch, yeah.
And those are, I mean, to me, like that's Bond too.
It
like,
is, for
even
sure.
though it's so cheesy.
Yes.
It's like, but it's
no, you have to have that.
Yeah, you have to, and
yeah.
I feel like Skyfall didn't have that either.
There wasn't as much.
And there's a little bit more of that in this too, where there's just like those little cheesy moments, even with him, like the lines with like, "I'll just come by my place tonight and bring it by my place tonight," and then like, just I felt like this had a little more of that I was kind of enjoyed.
No, it definitely did. Yeah.
And then again, something that kind of Skyfall was lacking was the henchman, the classic henchman.
Yeah, there usually is.
Yeah, and Dave Bautista
some kind of bodyguard or henchman. Yeah,
and
you're
does
right.
a good one, and has like the little like kind of like nod almost to like Jaws.
Oh, definitely.
With the metal teeth, but instead he's got the metal fingernails so that he can like basically gouge people's eyes out.
Yeah. Yeah, because
cool.
even henchmen, it's like, Jaws is like number one you always think of, and then
but there's the odd job.
Yeah, with the hat. I was gonna say that's the other one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like them two are like the ones you always think of. At least I do. Yeah.
But yeah, those are classic.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the villain though, like, because Christoph Waltz is insanely good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and number one performance is Inglourious Bastards. If you haven't seen it, that's crazy. You should see it. Like he's insanely good in that movie, and he's great in this. But I do think the villain, it's weaker than the villain in Skyfall overall.
I think it's
Not the acting, because again, he's great, but the character.
I think
and what happens.
Well,
also.
I think it's again the third act. And this is what I want to get into a little bit because of the story. So I think the idea, first of all,
Playing with the family again, like we talked about. I love that. Yeah.
Yes. So the going off of the family stuff from Skyfall, even that you learn about, and saying, "Hey, this family I was even adopted into.
Yeah.
I had an adopted brother, so to speak, and he passed away in a climbing like an avalanche.
Yeah.
With this father, this adopted father, and thought he's been dead all the years, and instead he's been this bitter." Because even though he was the biological son, his father liked James better. So then he became this evil, world bad guy.
Yep.
That also has plotted all these things to like just torture James Bond. So like that idea, brilliant.
It is.
And like there's the opportunities for very deep emotion but on the execution,
I know
it's like not there.
It's not. Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, the first act, the setup of that is great, and how he's like going down this path and figures out who Spectre is, and there. But it's like once you reveal, though, first you reveal him and as Blofeld, and then you that's great. But then it's like as those things start to play out, it just becomes like just not. I don't know. I feel like it was rushed. Actually, is what it really is.
Yeah.
Like either you need to introduce him sooner, but then I understand. But like really, that pacing wasn't bad. Like where we like finally meet him and stuff. So it's like then the revealing of things kind of playing out in the second act, not bad. It was just like that third act felt rushed. I think even like. Because the whole thing, even at his base, like seemed like way too, like it was like they were there.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden he's like, they're breaking out and blowing the place up, and then you're like gone. And
that was too quick.
WTF? Like what?
I know.
Like,
but the scene you were talking about at the beginning, like when we first get introduced to Blofeld, that scene's awesome though. Where he comes in, yeah, like, and it's like the whole Spectre organization,
shadow, and like you don't even see him forever.
Yeah, so like that
and
again,
then he's
but
like,
that's still,
and he knows James is there.
Yep.
Like yeah,
and he just turns and looks. Yeah.
So
but again, that's still pretty early on, right? Not too far in.
I mean, it's basically the start of the second act, kind of, I would say.
But see, that's still when we're riding pretty high in the movie. Like, like this has all been great so far. So, yeah, that scene's still great. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, as it goes, it's.
Well, I guess that's not the. Yeah, has he? No,
he's definitely sooner than we get introduced to the villain in Skyfall.
True. No, I was just trying to think like when.
But yeah, I don't remember how far in that was.
Because that happens. That happens right after the funeral, right? Because he's in Rome, goes to the funeral, which is basically the first place he goes after getting back from Mexico. He goes to London. He's in England, and then he goes to the funeral.
Yeah.
And then from the funeral, he finds out where that is because he sleeps with the lady, the dead guy's wife,
Monica Bellucci.
Yeah, he sleeps with her, keeps her from dying, and then of course a little disappointed we don't get to see Felix. He just I know. Because at least he was mentioned. He wasn't even mentioned in the last movie.
No, he wasn't. Yeah,
that he's mentioned at least in this one. Though we don't get to see him.
That was another great.
Because also in the Daniel Craig's Bond, he's played by what's his name?
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. He's like great actor.
Oh yeah.
So it's always good to see him.
It is. Yeah.
So like it would have been great to see him. But anyway.
Yeah. No. The scene also with where we get introduced to Monica Bellucci also is great, and that whole thing. Like, yeah. But again, still at the beginning. So like a lot of those scenes we talk about, still pretty early on. But yeah, as it goes, it's
so like he goes, and that's where he finds out that location. And he goes there. He's got the ring. He gets in.
Yep.
And then, like I said, that's kind of the end of the first act, beginning of second act of when he discovers Blofeld, and then decides he needs to figure out who Mr. White is, and then the whole second act is finding Mr. White and then finding his daughter, and then going to the Tangier Hotel and finding out all that stuff. And then the third act is they go to the Sahara Desert,
the base,
and then of course the inclusion of that. But the problem, and I think this is where the problem is, they basically have two build to two different things instead of it being all in the one spot. And then it's just like, oh, we got to destroy this base, because then we got to still go back to London,
and it actually ends on that bridge,
and stuff in the old MI6 building, and then so I feel like it's like has two things, and that's where like it kind of creates a.
Also, you're talking about Mr. White. It's hard to hear that name and not think of Jesse saying Mr. White. Anytime I watch this movie, I've just thought about that, but also because this is kind of, I guess it's kind of. This is still being the second act. I did think the car chase scene was really good though, between Bond and
Batista.
Yeah, do they ever say his name? I don't even know.
It's Hanks.
It's Hanks. Oh, I definitely never heard anyone say that. Yeah,
but it's just in the IMDb. But you're right. Like that's the only reason I know, because
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was great, but I did want to mention one thing, and this is really it for the rest of my notes. But one thing I think they do really well in this movie is with scenes where Bond is meeting certain people, and the interactions are really good. So the two examples are when Bond meets Mr. White in Austria. I think that scene's great.
Mm-hmm.
I said especially when Mr. White slides the Spectre ring. You see all the dust collecting. I thought that was so cool how they did that. And then so just their interaction back and forth is great. But then the other introduction that I thought they did really well is Bond and Madeline Swan when they meet. What is that location in the snow?
It's also Austria.
Is that still Austria?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Their exchange back and forth is great, and I like how specifically they're basically redirecting each other's questions, like that whole.
Well, and I love the question. Like the questions he let off. She's like, "There's a few things you left off the questionnaire."
Yeah,
and then like all those are beautifully handpicked things, so that they create a nice. It's good writing. Yeah, it's basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So like those two interactions mainly, because
And you'll love a good suspense on the cable cars.
Oh yeah.
It's classic Bond stuff too.
Yeah. No, you're right. All that, especially in the snow, is a good point. Like that is very classic Bond. Like all the stuff that happens in that at that point. Yeah, even the lift and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the chase scene there. He's like in a plane chasing them in cars, and then ends up. Yeah,
it would just
great.
be like another Bond movie. Would be what? It's like a snowmobile, I think, right?
There's one snowmobile. There's ones where he's on skis.
Yeah, ski. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah,
yeah, it's classic. You see the terrible I don't know, green screen or whatever, the Roger Moore going down skis.
No, honestly, one of the worst. I saw it recently. I think it was just because it was going around. I don't know. I think it was on YouTube where I saw it. It was in one of the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies, not GoldenEye, obviously. Where he's like in water. He's like, I think he still has his parachute on, but he's in water or something and like landing or something. I think it looks even worse than like some of the old Bond movies. I'm like, wow, this is really bad. Yeah. Just the background and how he's moving. I'm like, geez.
Well, sometimes, they try new techniques, and then if they're like too cutting edge, they don't age well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this last pod. It's like those other ones are pretty bad overall. Not even just the story, but like some of the scenes look pretty rough. Yeah.
You said this about all you have notes wise.
I just have one more thing, which, well, unless you have anything else, because kind of will go into cinematography.
I'm ready to move to cinematography stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I got to talk about explosions again, like last week. This is another one that is crazy how good it looks. Is the explosion of the base? Yeah. Where they're looking at it. You know what I'm talking about? I was like, dang, because again, there's no way that's all practical. Unless it's a miniature, although we were talking about that. They could have done that and then just
superimpose it.
Yeah. I guess they could have done that way.
Composite or whatever.
But whether it is or not, or if it is CGI, it looks so good. There was no spot where I was like, this looks bad. Because again, I can point out very easily now because there's a lot of really bad fire and smoke and all that kind of.
No, it looked good. Yeah.
It looked really good. Yeah.
So, some of the stuff we've talked about, so I don't want to rehash. The one thing I'll just say in general, I think, in general, I think this scenario is like really, really good. I think there wasn't anything quite stand out as much as like there was something about the stuff in Skyfall, like especially some of the scenes we were talking about. But this definitely has a even more modern. I know we were talking about this sometimes in something else, like a very almost like modern lighting style that I think.
Okay.
That it goes.
So his lighting style is very modern.
Yeah, I think. Okay. Where it's like very, but also very naturally motivated light, without a lot of other balancing stuff to fill. Like there's not a lot of like there's like so you have your key light, which is always like where the main light is coming from, right? And so that in most of these scenes is very like just naturally motivated, which means like it's kind of coming from a window or something that just makes sense to have light, right?
Right.
But then sometimes you'll have to like allow the subject to stand out a little bit more from the background. You'll have what they call hair light, right? Which we have them on us right now, like the lights that we use off to the side, off camera. But they, and you'll still try to do it so it's motivated. It might come from a lamp or something else in the scene, right?
Okay.
And then you also have fill light, which is like if you're talking about hitting a face, the key light's the brighter side. The fill light sometimes will like so that it's not all shadow on the opposite side. Okay. And this, a lot of times, I wasn't like watching, but like I feel like there was like no fill, which is definitely a more modern style of doing it. Mainly because you can get away with it
because of how TVs are now.
TVs and just the post-production process and I mean, he was shooting on film, but even like the quality of the key lights that you have to work with, and just like there's so there's so much more techniques used now than before with like diffusion, and it's just like a iteration of the style, right? And so it's a lot more soft. I don't say just soft, but like just subtle is probably a better word. Subtle key light that feels very just natural, and then it isn't always perfect, if that makes better sense.
Yeah.
But then it feels a little bit more organic and real.
Well, I wanted to ask you, with this cinematographer in general, does this guy have, well, I guess you kind of went into it a little bit. Does this guy have a specific style? I know you said the kind of more modern thing, but did you notice anything?
I mean,
especially watching, well, I guess I don't know how long it's been since you've watched his other.
That's what I was going to say. I've seen it in some of his other
Dunkirk,
films,
Tenet.
but it's been a while since I've watched them. And
Well, Tenet, I guess you haven't watched since 2020, right? You watched it.
correct. I've not watched it since I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Yes. That is actually correct. But I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it a little bit more.
Okay.
Now that I'm aware who he is in some of his other films.
And again, well, once you watch Oppenheimer, I mean, that's just a spectacle on every level, like just audio, visual, audio, everything. But I'm so curious because I think, especially after Oppenheimer, like this guy's going to be pretty high up, like on the cinematographer, like of like well-known names. I want to say, I don't know if he's ever going to get to Roger Deakins level, but seems like he's getting.
I think the obviously style's a little different, but I think the quality's there because the couple.
Well, obviously, I mean, the fact that he's now done 4 Nolan movies, and then
Nolan wouldn't use you again.
So 4 Nolan movies, and then did a Jordan Peele, and then Sam Mendes.
So
although because I don't think these last 2 Sam Mendes movies, I don't think.
Well, it's Deakins again for.
Oh, is it for 1917?
I'm pretty sure. I didn't look again, but I just recall. I think that's who did that. But
nice.
Yeah. The only thing I think I'll just say the dinner scene in the train car where they have the fancy, and there's like the shot where you see him from the side was just, there was like well, there was also like it was definitely either handheld or there was like a little bit of movement, which is unusual to see in quiet scenes in James Bond movies. Put it that way. Like there was like something I noticed it, but that was because I'm kind of looking and paying attention to that stuff because of doing a podcast. But like, but I was just
you notice those things anyways, even if you weren't doing it.
I don't always try. Like I try to, especially when I'm just experiering something for the first time.
That's true. Yeah,
I try to turn some of that stuff off and just like enjoy what it is.
The thing is, though, you can't completely turn it off.
No. Well,
because I'm that way with music. When I'm watching something,
it's a more of like if there's something extremely off.
Oh,
then it's like you're like, oh
yeah, for sure.
And then other people still don't notice it, but
oh yeah.
But like stuff like subtle like that, I might not have picked up on if I wasn't trying to pay attention. I was more just like enjoying it for the moment. But something you've watched already before, and you're watching it again, and you're doing a podcast on, and you're paying attention to that stuff. And I was just like noticed that I was like, oh, that's different. I mean, and like I would imagine, and this is just me speculating, but like it kind of makes sense if you're trying to give a little bit of motivation to, like, there was some life in their relationship and he was like falling in love, or at least like something, right? And they were kind of making a real connection, and he doesn't do that a lot. Obviously he did it with Vesper.
Yes.
Which
that
also
was a big one.
Yeah. But anyway, so you kind of get this like, it just had a little bit different feel than like anything we saw last movie or most of this movie, and it was just kind of that gave it that moment. But also thought it was really pretty the way it was framed, and just one of those shots that really stood out that I kind of is unusual. Like a lot of the big beautiful shots that probably other people would point out, I think those are the ones like the stuff that's, but anyway,
when you're talking about that, it made me think of, so when they're at, I don't know, we'll call it Blofeld's base, whatever, in the desert. One thing I was like, because a lot of these Bond movies, well, the old ones too, there's going to be some cheesy lines or dialogue, and there still sometimes is. I mean, it kind of goes along with the Bond thing anyways. But when Madeline Swan. And this is before she even he's getting his he's strapped into the, and before she even knows like to grab the watch from him, she's like, "Oh, I love you." Like they've known each other maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
Maybe 3. Yeah. It hasn't even been. Yeah, I don't know. Just stuff like that. Which again, I mean, a lot of the old Bond movies, I guess that usually would still. But I was just okay, because she doesn't seem like a typical Bond girl. Like she seems like she's a little more capable and smart when it comes to.
Well, she already knew how to handle a gun. He started.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, so she's very familiar with all that. Like it's just
you grew up with your father. That's like a
yeah. But because again, and it would make sense though if she was like saying that and going along with it. If she already knew this was the plan, she's trying to like distract, right? But that was before all that, so that's why I was like, this is kind of weird that she's saying this now.
Cheesy lines.
Yeah. Anyway, but that just made me think of that.
Yeah, there's yeah. I think there's a lot of little touches that are nice. Like I like when they got there, there's a picture of him and his adopted dad and brother.
That was cool.
That's on and then on hers there's a picture of the same picture of her with her dad when she was little, and then of course there's already a dress there for her to wear. Mm-hmm. Like little things like that I think are nice touches that have very.
I did like also. This is another thing that reminded me when Bond and her are walking into the room with the meteorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you see the wide shot.
Mm-hmm.
You immediately can kind of see him.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the back right, I want to say. But it's really cool what they did with the
lighting,
shadows and
the lighting in that too.
But like it's very, very faint. So that was a really cool job how they made him almost invisible, but it was enough where you could tell. So when he steps out, I already knew where he was going to come from, which was cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, there's so many little things. I remember really liking the shot of when he shows up to the Spectre event. And the guy lets him pass, and it just shows him walking up a staircase.
Yeah,
and it's like with like the silhouette shadow of him, like, and then just the subtle warm lighting that's up there, and like it just looks sick. Really cool.
Yeah,
but then a lot of the stuff in that scene, like you said, like all the stuff in the table and keeping Blofeld in the shadow the whole time on his face is like so cool. And
although like we're talking about some cool stuff they do with shadows, but again, like I was talking about, I think the last Roger Deakins movie is like, I think he's the best when it comes to how he uses shadows. I think he's one of the best. In my opinion, I don't know. You probably, you know a lot more about it, but at least from what I've seen, I think he's one of the best with that.
Yeah, no, he does do some cool stuff with that. It's hard to say who's the best, but
yeah, although because I got mixed up when we were talking about it before. I thought he was the one that did Road to Perdition, but it's the other guy that won. But the shadows in that immediately stood out in that movie as well.
That one did, but like remember I was talking about that's where it's like it's a very high contrast.
Mm-hmm. You said a very different style. You said it was more old school, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and that's what I was talking about. And then Deacon stuff is definitely newer style, but then I feel like this guy's is even like more modern style of like but not as a drastic difference than it was from Deacon's to what was that guy's name? I can't remember. Yeah.
Oh, the other guy that did Road to Perdition.
Yeah, did
I know. Oh, yeah, we gotta look it up because I had his name on hand. Like I was pulling it out of my head because we talked about it so much.
Yeah, I know, and now it's drawing a blank. But.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, that's right. I can bring it up if you wanna.
I got it. I'm here.
It's always hard because you gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta go to whole cast though.
And scroll down.
Cinematographer Conrad Hall.
Yeah,
there we go. Yep, and he was the guy, his son, then accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Was it for Road to Perdition? Was that the last one?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, because he died right after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he won for both that and American Beauty cinematography.
Yeah, I remember you talking about with him. He does a lot of symmetry.
Yes.
With this framing, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because like that's there's like the lighting stuff that you can look at, but then also so much just like the framing obviously is a big part
composition.
Yeah, composition. Yeah. And I mean, this has some of those two shots in this movie too, that like just like cool symmetrical type frame shots that are just, I don't know, there's something about it always makes things look better.
Well, and also, like you said, we don't know much about Hoyte van Hoytema, but who knows? That could be two of his influences.
Yeah,
is
true.
The two guys we're talking about.
True.
Yeah, but anyway, I do want going forward. Like I'm interested in what you'll think of him in the future and how he's going to be the cinematographer, because I think he's going to be a big deal.
Moving forward, kind of probably already is, but at this point. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, just doing 4 Nolan movies. Yeah, doing 4 Nolan movies. It's like, yeah, that's crazy already.
Yeah. Okay. So score. Anything you want to talk about the score beyond?
Well,
music we talked about earlier.
I do like the because I was mentioning with the main song, "Writing on the Wall," the music for it, which I'm wondering if Thomas Newman actually wrote that music, because he brings it back at a really good point in the movie when Bond and Madeline Swan actually finally do get together. Let's say it that way. Yeah. And I love that opening. So that opening, it's the same opening intro as the song. And I love the style of it. It's very old school Hollywood string style, like very high pitched string, octave style melody, and I love that anyway. In any kind of film, I mean, that's why they use it a lot in Bond. It's done a lot in Bond since from the beginning. But I like how they bring it back in that part of the movie. The only thing besides that, with this one, I notice more not Thomas Newman's style, like where you talk about like his the different specific melodies that he likes to kind of go to, or his own style. But I would say it's still a Thomas Newman signature is the really soft piano with the I'd call it the long reverb tail on it, because he did that in basically every movie of this. Like, I think of honestly Revolutionary Road the most, because a lot of piano in that, but I heard a lot more in this one, which always sounds great. You can use that almost any style movie really, but so I like that was in this one more because it wasn't in much in Skyfall.
True. Yeah.
So, but besides that though, overall I didn't like the score as much as Skyfall. It wasn't as memorable.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know what. Yeah,
I agree. They I think I don't think you. It's like the only thing I was gonna. There was like one little other note I just remember, like when they do the intro with the bullet, I mean the barrel, like no, you're right, and it does the like classic. It didn't do the like last bit of it. I don't know how to explain it other than like this is like
where they kind of move it. Oh, you're talking about the music. Okay, like, sorry.
Like the way it does that. Like, it left that part out.
It did, yeah.
And I was like, where?
I know. It is weird. Well, speaking of that, so the other thing, because this kind of goes into what I was talking about last pod with the signature Bond theme that's played on the electric guitar, right? So that's not in this movie till the very end. But what I like about it in this time is even the drums, the horns, everything about it, it was like the original. I don't know if you noticed that. At the very end when he's he's in the car, I was like, wow, this is weird. So it wasn't a newer version at all. Like everything, they just put the recording in of the old version of it, which was interesting because I was then also listening to what I was talking about with how he's playing that guitar line, and I was like, nope, this is definitely the old one because it was different.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's cool. It's always cool to go back to that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
It's
why not?
Very nostalgic
Oh,
for
yeah.
anybody that likes James
Yeah.
Bond.
I was surprised it wasn't in any other part of the movie, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't used as much.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So then overall theme messaging in this film.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's stuff in there about, there's like Big Brother stuff, like not a good idea. I think.
Yeah.
I think it like
That's really the only thing I had.
Yeah. Kind of the like analog is still useful, so to speak. Very useful, and I mean, obviously, like I mean, the line that basically M has about when he's talking about like, a license to kill is also a license not to kill.
Yeah, it was a good line.
That stuff at the end, and like, I think that's where it's like that. There's they're kind of making the point of like, if you're executing someone from a drone, like you're so disconnected from the human that you're killing that you're not making this decision with as much
on a
compassion
human level,
at a human level that you would if you had to kill someone in person. And I think that was a really good point, and I think that's kind of the bigger message that they have in here. That is, I mean, obviously it's the James Bond movie. It's not supposed to. No, but that's supposed to. But I think there is that in there.
That's the only thing I had written down is trusting in technology over people.
Yeah.
And replacing human 00 agents with drones.
Yeah.
That's
not good. Not good idea.
No. Nope. And this is 2015.
Yeah.
And we got a lot more of that now.
Almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
9 years later.
Yeah, we got a lot more of that now.
Yeah. And of course, it would have been written. I mean, it came out in 2015. Technically, it was made. So it's basically been.
Probably wrote 10 years ago.
Basically 10 years
yeah.
since it was, but probably even longer.
True.
But, so yeah. All right. A little bit of trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, following the success of following the success of this movie, Mexico City held its first The Day of the Dead parade, complete with floats, dancers, and giant marionettes in 2016. Prior to this, no parade had ever been held, despite the movie scenes. So that answers your question.
Yeah.
They definitely staged it all for the movie. Because it didn't exist before that.
Well,
which is also crazy. Because it totally
that is weird that
believable.
It didn't happen until 2016. Huh. Well, there goes a big chunk of your budget right there. That's
the extra $45 million right there.
All those people, and man, that was a huge crowd.
Yeah. In the Ian Fleming James Bond stories, Hans Opperhauser, who is the father of this movie's Franz Opperhauser, Christoph Waltz, was a skiing and climbing instructor who taught Bond while he was at Fettes College in Edinburgh. In Fleming's Octopussy short story, Bond says of him, he taught me to ski before the war when I was in my teens. He was something of a wonderful man. He was something of a father to me at the time when I happened. So that was how it was in the books. He wasn't actually his father.
I knew there was another old connection with it. Yeah, it was Octopussy, but not from the movie, though.
Yeah, from the book.
Huh.
Yeah.
So is there not as much good stuff in this one?
No, I was just saying, so Daniel Craig said it was getting harder and harder to get his fit for the shirtless scenes as James Bond in the age of 47.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I've been working out for 6 months. I work myself to death to get fit. No secret method involved, just sheer hard grit. It's getting harder, I will admit, but such is life. I'll keep going as long as I'm physically able.
He's not... It is interesting how you see him as the movies go. You see him less shirtless.
Yeah. Yes.
Because like the famous him walking out in the Speedo in the water is...
Yeah, which is like a recreation of the shot from Dr. No with Sean Connery.
And that was that Casino Royale?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously the first one he was in.
Yeah.
They're like, we're doing it now
way
because
younger.
yeah.
In order to do the London scene involving low-flying helicopters. The production had to send out 11,000 letters to residents and businesses that fell within the fly zone.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just the stuff you don't think about, the logistics of just doing. Reportedly, Christopher Nolan was being seriously considered to direct this movie until Sir Sam Mendes decided to come back for another movie. Associate producer Greg Wilson said Christopher Nolan would be a dream choice for a future Bond director. We would, of course, be interested to have a discussion with him. We would like to do the same type of movie. It would be a dream to be with Nolan, but we always have an open mind when it comes to directors.
Nice. Yeah, we were just talking about
think
this.
That might, yeah.
Yeah. What was the other person? Oh,
So here it is. This is the first James Bond movie not to feature the iconic trumpet playing of Derek Watkins since Dr. No.
It's crazy.
So it wasn't in Dr. No, the first one, but it was actually in the rest of the films until this one.
Man. Yeah, the other director we talked about. Oh, because it was after we did Last Night in Soho.
Yeah.
We said, because there's a lot of Bond reference in that, and even the time period. Well, we even see Thunderball in the matinee. So I think we were also saying, like, even though he likes to do a lot of funny stuff, which you can obviously do a little bit of Bond humor, I think we were talking about, like, he probably wants to take a shot at it. I'm sure.
I think he could handle it.
Yeah.
Because between that and Baby Driver.
Right, that's true, yeah.
I think
those are two more serious movies.
Yeah. Like, I think there's stuff there that he could handle it.
Yeah. So Edgar Wright or Christopher Nolan, but I mean, there's plenty of other directors.
Great. Yeah, and there's probably other people out there doing it. Since this movie does not use an original Ian Fleming story to tell, there are still only 4 unused original titles. So here's the 4. The Property of a Lady, The Hildebrand Rarity, Rosisco, and 007 in New York. The word Hildebrand does appear in the name of the closed rarities shop and safe house in this movie.
Well, all those, it's like, do you want to name a movie that doesn't sound?
Some of those
doesn't sound great.
The Property of a Lady, I could see that being a title.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, but the other ones are kind of, I don't know, unless Rosisco, I don't know what that is.
No, but like 007 in New York sounds like a TV special little thing that, like, it doesn't sound like a Bond movie. It's like a documentary. 007 in New York. Traveling show.
All right, so the painting that the art dealers are selling in Shanghai, China, in Skyfall, is in Mandolin Swan's room at the desert base in Spectre.
Oh, I didn't.
It's on the wall to the left of her as she looks at the dress. That's funny.
Nice.
So Monica Bellucci previously auditioned for a Bond girl role prior to being cast in this movie. In 1997, in an interview with Playboy magazine, former James Bond Pierce Brosnan said that Bellucci had screen tested for one of the 2 leading Bond girl roles as Paris Carver in Tomorrow Never Dies. The part in the end went to Terry Hatcher, but Monica Bellucci is a ravishing beauty, is what Brosnan said.
Yeah, I would be.
She's definitely prettier than Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, I was wondering if she ever was considered before.
Yeah,
because she's also been around for a long time, and I feel like she would have been in a Bond movie before.
All right. Gary Oldman was approached for the role of Franz Oppenheimer and Stavro Blofeld, but he was unwilling to commit to 6 months production worldwide. So it's just funny because then he's in the Slow Horses.
Yeah, I mean, he's another actor. He can do anything.
Yeah.
So like it could, yeah. But it does make sense though. Like, well, I mean, it's his adopted brother, so it's like they don't
have to be, but they should have been close in age.
Yeah, but also like Christoph Waltz, like I mean, and Daniel Craig, they look similar, even though they're so like that's cool that they did that, even though.
So the only
they're not by blood.
Other thing I wanted to say, that I forgot to mention is, what I would say is, I hope that's not the end of Blofeld. Like he gets captured, obviously, at the end of this movie, but I think it was, I don't know. I just loved that story arc where he was reoccurring, like, and you knew he was there.
Yep.
And I guess there were Roger Moore movies.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think there was Roger Moore movies that he was in. I think. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember, but it's definitely it was either his or Connery movies. But like where he's, and they kind of do that here with this, where it's like theoretically they're retroactively saying he was overseeing all the stuff that's happened to Daniel Craig, basically. So theoretically, Casino Royale, the bad guy in that, the bad guy in Quantum of Solace, and then of course the bad guy in Skyfall were all working for Spectre organization, but they're kind of trying to retrofit that in there. So I don't know, but
well, now you got to watch. No Time to Die.
I do. No Time to Die is. I'm going to watch it, and we'll talk about on the screen time at least.
You can mention it. I always mention movies if I've watched them. In
the TV one where we talk about what we've been watching. But because I know both Claudia and I would love to hear what you think of that movie. I want to watch it now. I mean, because I never got around to watching it in the theater, and
it'll be good going to it fresh right from this.
Yeah, just to feel like right after the other two. Yeah. Any last thoughts on this movie?
Nope. And we don't need to do like a long thing at the end, even though that was fun last time, predicting the next Bond. But
no, we talked about it. I was gonna, if we would have had a different guest, I would have.
We would have.
But like I think we talked about our thoughts on it last week. So
for the guest that we were gonna have on, Evelyn, Claudia's mom, both of them agree with me, Henry Cavill. So there you go. They all.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he'd be great.
Number one.
I just feel like they. I don't know. I think he would do great, but
yes,
I mean, you can see it in the Mission Impossible movie.
Fallout.
Fallout, where he's in.
Well, there's a specific movie where he basically is playing Bond, the man from U.N.C.L.E. Did you ever see that
I never saw that movie. I know what you're talking. I mean, I saw the trailer. I know what you're talking about.
It's basically so like
also,
that's him.
He's coming. He's in the Argyle movie coming up. That's so we'll see. Yeah,
similar also. Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays up.
I'm excited for that movie. Looks sick.
Me too. So then next week we're going to cover 1917. So
will I have some special guests?
I think we
at least one.
I think we'll have at least one, maybe two. There might be four of us on that one.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, otherwise we hope you really enjoyed our conversation about Spectre, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe on YouTube, or subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you tell us your thoughts or, feedback on things, you can email us at feedback@screentimepod.com.
Give us your Bond order.
Yes.
Your Daniel Craig Bond order.
Yes. We talked about that a lot last week.
Also, email us if you're like just annoyed of how much we destroyed No Time to Die. Maybe you love that movie, and email us and let us know.
Yeah. And email us or any other thing you'd like to, who you like to, director you'd like us to cover. I mean, let us know.
Also, just email us who you think the next Bond should be.
Oh yeah,
that's all. That's been a hot topic all over the internet. Yeah,
and if you know a director you think should do it. I mean, I know we talked about Edgar Wright or Christopher Nolan would be cool, but I'm sure there's other people out there that we haven't thought about. So if you get
Josh Youngbar, the next.
Yeah, I don't think I can handle that.
I know that would be brutal.
I don't know. It's stressful. I need to work my way up. I have to do a feature film first before I tackle something ridiculous like that. But yeah. So, and if you haven't already and you want to, you can follow us on Instagram. There's the Screen Time Instagram account, but then also my personal is at J Youngbar, and Jared's.
I'm Jared Youngbar.
Yeah. And with that, we will talk to you guys next week.